Assalamualaikum and hi, we are from BA2.4C. So today our group will present about Bithaman Ajil and its practices in Islamic banking. My name is Nayli Nasuha binti SHARIFUL BHARI.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is ADILLA binti MAMAT.
In this study, we will look at the Islamic housing loan known as Bithaman Ajil or BBA. The study is more concerned with stretching the surface of the Bithaman Ajil contract and its important applications in the realms of Islamic finance. Understanding the concept of Bithaman Ajil is critical for Islamic finance students and practitioners. Bithaman Ajil (BBA) is the most prevalent method of financing used by practically every Islamic bank in Malaysia. The reliance on this sort of financing necessitates a more in-depth explanations. These discussions focus on the concept of BBA and its use in Islamic banking and financing. Bithaman Ajil is a sort of deferred payment sale in which things are sold at a lower price with payment deferred. In this sort of Islamic finance, the profit margin is agreed upon by both parties. A Bithaman Ajil is an Islamic financial institution in which the consumer pays the selling price rather than the interest payable on the loan, allowing postponed interest payments to be avoided. In Bithaman Ajil, which looks to be a sale, Sharia or Islamic law bans the combining of two financial transactions and interest is imposed. So, Bithaman Ajil is a sort of interest-based transactions in which a financial institution purchases an asset and then sells it at a specific price to a third party. The customer will need to repeat the cash over a set period of time utilizing deferred payment methods such as installments as established by the Islamic financing organizations. Through the Islamic finance transactions offered by Bithaman Ajil, a person does not have to be the owner of the property or even have a legal interest in it in order to sell it. The customer can sell the properties right to the Islamic finance institutions for the loan amount once the sale and buy agreement with the dealer is complete. A sale is often the sum that both parties agree upon in a deferred payment arrangements to borrow and return. So, the buyer and the seller must agree on the time durations in this element of Islamic financing, but the reasons for the delay payment must be stated. So, here is the modus operandi of BBA. Next is research objective. We are focusing on 4 objectives in order to complete this report, which are to identify the concept of Bithaman Ajil and its purpose, to discuss the applications of Bithaman Ajil in Islamic banking and financing.
The research study about this topic, such as to study the role of Bithaman Ajil in Islamic banking and its importance for the community. And the last one is to study improvements, the contract of Bithaman Ajil in Islamic banking and the practices in the face of the issues.
Third, we go to literature review. The first one is the concept of Bithaman Ajil. Bithaman Ajil literally is a deferred payment sales and technically is a sale contract in which the payment of the price is deferred and payable at a certain particular time in the future. In Islam, buying and selling are required. The Bithaman Ajil transaction is a delay trading business activity that must be identical to normal trade. The law that underpins of Bithaman Ajil is based on the following text, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's words, which signifies people who eat usury cannot bear it unless they are possessed by Satan due to insanity. This is because they claim that purchasing and selling constitutes usury, despite the fact that God has made buying and selling legal and has outlawed usury. Whoever receives a reminder from his Lord, he comes to a halt and all he had previously obtained become his and his affairs are up to God. Anyone who repeats that is a resident of hell and will remain there. Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 2-75. So the verse explained that purchasing and selling activities are halal and banned if they involve usury. As a result, Bithaman Ajil is an Islamic purchasing and selling mechanism that retains the principle and circumstances of Islamic muamalat. Here is the pillars of BBA. Pillars of Bithaman Ajil is a pillar employed in muamalah or Islamic jurisprudence, purchasing and selling. Furthermore, as a documentation of the transactions, this financing method necessitates a commercial transactions. The seller and buyer, commodities assets, payment price, and sigo are the pillars of the Bai Bithaman Ajil. The first one is seller and buyer. Both parties must meet the Sharia standards in order for the sales and purchase transactions to be legal under Islamic law. As a result, in a transaction involving property or valuable products and a variety of key contractual obligations, the financier operates as a seller and the consumer as a buyer. Mukallaf or puberty, intelligence and mutual agreements are among the prerequisites that both partners must meet. Second is asset and price. The two assets that are placed in the transactions must be listed in the sigo, or known as akad, which the property sold by the financier and the value of the things paid by the customer. Lastly is sigo. The sigo akad refers to the two words of the sale and purchase agreements that are pronounced by the buyer and the seller. The objective of PBA, as stated in the Quran, that means, and when you buy and sell, you should bring witnesses, and the person writing the documents and the witness should not make it difficult for one another. Surah Al-Baqarah verse 2-8. The verse above also illustrates why buying and selling are necessary. A document sale and purchase agreement is necessary for transactions involving debt. The transaction is being made in order to prevent future miscommunications, fraud, and altercations that might harm both parties. According to ISB, this form of transaction is appropriate for its name because it involves money provided later or postponed. Bai Bithaman Ajil denotes recent price increases. It signifies that the price of the item is different than when paid in cash, as stated by ISB in 2020.
What is the role of Bai Bithaman Ajil? Bai Bithaman Ajil is deferred sales. It's crucial to remember that the word holdback refers to the practice of withholding already agreed upon payments. So, murabaha is quite similar with the Bai Bithaman Ajil. But to create the Bai Bithaman Ajil that is currently practiced in Malaysia, the Bai Bithaman Ajil concept was taken and modified, while murabaha is the phrase for the quick payment, whereas the Bai Bithaman Ajil is used to describe the loan term repayment, and it's typically paid in installment over the predetermined period. But the murabaha payment is typically made all at once. So here I will present regarding the contract of Bai Bithaman Ajil. So the first issue is Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad Wazir Azhari Ma'ali. The issue is the defendants apply for a Bai Bithaman Ajil facility from the plaintiff in order to obtain the money needed to pay for a land's acquisition and the cost of building the bungalow home. The facility's application to the defendant was approved by the plaintiff. About 100,000 was paid as the purchase price for the land purchase and the bungalow house contraction cost. The defendant was obligated by the plaintiff to pay about 300,000 of the selling price to the Islamic bank in monthly installment until complete settlement through the property sales agreement known as PSA. According to the court's decision in Bai Bithaman Ajil related cases and based on the defendant's own testimony, the financing contract with the Bai Bithaman Ajil was valid and binding on the defendants because there was no evidence of fraud, coercions, and undue influences at the time the Bai Bithaman Ajil agreement was signed. The second issue is Malayan Banking Berhad basis Yaakob Oji and Anof. The issue is using Bai Bithaman Ajil principle. The plaintiffs in this case give the defendants access to an Islamic home credit facility to pay for a property with a total market value of 80,000 the installment of 60,000 that belonged to the plaintiff was not paid back by the defendants to comply with an order ordering the sales of the property. The complete sales price of the illegal property to the plaintiff, which is the amount of the debts the defendants were required to pay by 100,000. The defendant asked the court for a just and fair ruling, contending that the plaintiff demand above excessive and serve and went against the concept of fairness. Islam requires a clear demonstration of the use of money, efforts and risk. If not, the transaction is considered a usury transaction and may result in the bank engaging in illegal transaction. Islamic banking practice can resemble usury in the economy. Worse, because profits are determined and returns are certain as opposite the profit sharing agreements. The court further assets that absence of the set interest rate or earning is a basic aspect in Islamic banking. Equity-based financing should be based on profit and loss contract. In other words, Islamic banking emphasizes the need for Islamic banks that act as venture capitalists rather than traditional leaders of funds. And the last issue is public bank Berhad versus Muhammad Nafida. In the case, the plaintiff gave the defendant access to Bithaman Ajil Islamic house facility to pay for the acquisition of a bungalow property with a one-story. Through the Bithaman Ajil, the sale price was specified in the bank sales agreement sum assignment. SAFSA was 400,000, but the purchase price specified in the PPA was 200,000 as an opposite to acting as a devices bank, and the plaintiff a contract that it was supply a bank to provide the financing for the building and purchase of the defendant's property. Furthermore, it was not the plaintiff's duty to seize that the developer was granted permission to build houses or has applied to become the owner of subsidy under its license. In addition, the court determined that the plaintiff was exclusively responsible for financing the bank. It is not the plaintiff bank's responsibility to look into or confirm the legality of the purchase and selling agreement between the client purchasers and the developer. So, in the conclusion is, Bithaman Ajil has had the honor of being the most well-known ideal of Islamic housing finance ever since Islamic banking was the first introduced in Malaysia. But Bithaman Ajil is built on the idea of a debt which has an enormous cost and a burden one's obligation to one's families. Furthermore, because the banks doesn't assume the risk of ownership and liability on the property, Bithaman Ajil has no practice in Malaysia, and the view whereby international expats as not being in compliance with the Sharia. No. There is a lot of unhappiness among Bithaman Ajil, current and prospective assume, because the continuous aspect of their home finance.
That's all from us. Thank you.